Hello, everybody. Welcome to CyberKriya, where the enterprise wisdom happens one podcast at a time. Today's guest is a special guest, a friend of mine whom I have met, I would say, a few years before. Expert, a leader in his field, plays a critical role in a big cloud service provider, and has been instrumental in multiple things. The recent achievement, which I kind of became this podcast episode, was he wrote a book, which I would let him talk about it. I would not talk about the title and everything. But without further ado, please join me to welcome Tushar Srivastava. Tushar, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Gaurav. I'm really privileged to be part of this show, part of this conversation. And first up, wanted to compliment you on the great work you are doing in this field of cybersecurity, specifically SAP cybersecurity. So I'm glad that I'm able to contribute in some little form to this initiative that you're doing and looking forward to our conversation today.
Thank you, Tushar. You always count on your friends, right? So I see you as more of my friend too, apart from the professional relationship we have. And that was
Yep.
very kind of you to talk good about me. So thank you for that. I will take it. So Tushar, for the audience, I know probably a lot of our audience would know about you, but let's give a brief introduction from your side, if you don't mind.
Sure. So I'm Tushar Srivastava. I'm based in Atlanta, and I have a young, beautiful family. My wife, two kids, and professionally, I'm engaged in working with AWS, Amazon Web Services, as an account manager. So I support customers in the retail space, retail and consumer goods space. Before taking on this role, my role at AWS was SAP specialist, which is supporting customers in their journey on migrating SAP to the cloud and modernizing SAP. Before that, I used to work for SAP, professional services sale, and before that, various consulting roles in technology. I've grown up in India, did my MBA from IIT Bombay, also have a mechanical engineering background, and that's about it. Anything else you would want to know?
I want to know everything. So we'll go into the 20-year, 30-year, whatever years we can go back. Uh, so, but that was a good introduction. Thank you, Tushar. Let's just give some, I think, brief overview about the book. We will go deep dive on the book also, but I want to cover more of a personal story. But let's talk about the book. Welcome to the club first. I think you're an author now. I wrote a book some
Thank you.
time back too. So we kind of talked about when this idea came. I believe at the time we connected too. So I
Yeah,
want to know more about the book, the amazing book you have written on the SAP and AWS kind of
sure,
integrate.
exactly. So let me show you the book. So
Okay.
this is the book, Modernizing SAP with AWS, as you can see. Published by A Press, and then you'll see a little picture of an airline company, Nimbus. So to give you some background, so my background has always been in sales. The time I spent at AWS educating customers about SAP and all the options around SAP and cloud technology and how that helps with SAP, this was a confusing topic for a lot of customers. They were traditionally used to running on-prem infrastructure or maybe in a colo, and taking SAP to the cloud was new when I started. And eventually, over hundreds and hundreds of interactions with customers, I was able to refine a message that helps the customers to understand how cloud technology plays a role in modernizing SAP and specifically AWS, how that helps. And being from sales, my primary job, not just at AWS and before that, is to break that down into all the concepts, which is very technical, break that down into something that is understandable and in a more business friendly language. So at one point in time, when I was doing this day in and day out, it just so happened, I think the topic was becoming important in the market. And a publisher reached out to me that if you would be interested in writing a book on this topic, SAP on AWS or modernizing SAP with AWS. So I had some conversations with the publisher, and eventually I said, yes, I would want to work on this. I spoke to a couple of my colleagues and, more with technical background, if they would be willing to be co-authors or partner on this book. And, luckily or unluckily, uh, they were busy with something else and it didn't work out. So I said, okay, I'll write the book by myself. But I thought my background has been in storytelling and explaining concepts. So why not tell the explain the whole technical concept through the means of a story. And that's what I do in my day job. And, somewhere there was always a desire, to be a writer or an author, whatever. As you grow up, I used to read a lot. So there was always a desire to write something. I thought maybe this is a good challenge. And what I did was all my customer interactions over the past so many years, different people I've seen, CIOs, directors of technology, my colleagues, how we go through a whole journey of a customer evaluating solutions and then deploying the solution, what that whole journey is. I picked up characters from here and there and I created a fictional story around Nimbus Airlines who's trying to modernize SAP, how they approach the whole thing. SAP comes in, AWS comes in, and how they talk to the customer. What are the challenges? There's a cyber attack also that happens in the book somewhere, and we overcome that. So there's a whole story, and through the story, you are explaining the technical concepts all along the way to the reader. So the reader doesn't get overwhelmed. That this is a very dry technical book. And so even if you're a layperson who has very little background about SAP, the story itself will give you a good insight into the journey of evaluation of technology at a customer and how it eventually gets deployed.
So I believe this was your idea to write this book in this way, the whole storytelling part, right? Not the publisher.
Yes, yeah. In
That's all
fact,
you, right?
yeah. So A Press or Springer Nature, they are a publisher of technical books. So when I ran this idea by the publisher, initially there was skepticism that
Yeah.
we publish technical books. We are not sure if this would work. But then I shared a few sample chapters and paragraphs, and they liked it, and they finally gave the green signal for that, and that's how we went ahead.
So I would love to copy. I guess I just love the idea of, as you're saying, storytelling. So even the
Yeah.
book I wrote, the Cybersecurity for SAP book, right? This is more like a technical and somebody in the SAP and cybersecurity space would read. But I love the whole Nimbus airline and the way you. So I haven't got my signed copy from the author, so I
Mhm.
haven't read the book. But I would love to read the story about Nimbus airline and then what happened, especially the cyber breach you just discussed. So
Yeah, so I added as a plot component
okay.
in the whole story that there's a cyber attack that happens, and because of that there's an impact on the sales cycle itself, and there's an impact on personal lives of the people who are involved. So it forms a pivotal moment in the story and how the airline comes out of that. So I mean, I thought that would be a good way to progress the conversation forward.
So there's no better way of writing a book where each reader may find themselves in the book as a character, right? So I'm thinking
Exactly.
if I read your book, I may see, okay, oh, this is me, right? I'm the one
Definitely.
securing SAP may on the cloud, and so I can't wait
Absolutely.
to read the book. So maybe we'll use this podcast to maybe go through some of the story. I don't know how much you wanna share. Maybe take
No,
us on some part of it. Maybe
yeah,
like the
yeah, yeah.
cyber thing you
Uh,
discussed. We do
so
want
I'm
readers to read the full book. No, we're not trying to get the book
absolutely.
here.
I'm
Yeah.
happy to share at a high
Okay.
level. So what happens is the whole story is, so in the SAP world, a big challenge, a big decision for most customers is modernizing SAP, going to S/4HANA. And does that mean going to RISE, or are there other options out there? And not just infrastructure, but how do you how do you modernize SAP even on the innovation side, or getting more out of SAP and cloud if together? So as part of this whole thing, what I did was I told the story from the perspective, a salesperson. That's me. So even though I didn't write it in first person, that's how the story starts. That there's this person, he's been doing well, works at AWS. They've been suddenly called in by Nimbus Airlines to look at all the options around modernizing SAP and how AWS can play a role. So the story goes initially, this person fails miserably. They have a team, the team works together. Then how they learn from that failure, they go back to the customer, they present something better. The customer likes what they see. How a business case gets built inside a customer organization. What are the, activities that go in? And each character views this whole migration project from their lens. So there's a person who views this project from the lens of, okay, how will the actual deployment happen? So there's a whole chapter on deployment. So that's how I'm able to cover the deployment strategy. There's another character who's interested in, how is the infrastructure different or better than what we have on-prem? So then there's a whole chapter that there's a conversation with that one person around how is the AWS infrastructure defined? What does the different instances mean? What's the naming convention? And at the end of the chapter, this person becomes extremely happy about how the whole infrastructure is defined and built out. So through the chapter, we are able to explain the technical concept and then progress the story further. So that's how it is, and it ends. I mean, I took some liberty also in terms of trying to define, how interactions happen within organizations. Some of this may or may not be completely accurate, but the idea was to show that if things happen, if a customer evaluates technology and they look at all their options and then they ask questions, this is how typically a journey would happen. And I tried to end the book on a fun note in the sense. Um, so the two main characters towards the end, they're at the cafe and, they're just having coffee. And then, they look out of the window, and this cafe is at the airport. It's close to the airport. And they look out of the window, and then they eventually see a Nimbus Airlines flight taking off and then heading into the clouds. So that's the end, symbolically ending that this airline is taking its journey into the cloud, and it is symbolically depicted by an actual Nimbus Airlines aircraft taking off, and you losing the visibility of that, and it goes into the clouds. So that's how I try to blend in all these components, and hopefully the readers would like it.
I love it. I love it. So maybe a second version of your book can be, if this was a domestic kind of a flight, maybe you do international one. But I just love it. I'm just thinking when you're talking about this whole like Nimbus airline taking a takeoff and then going into the cloud. This is just your idea, right? This is all
Yeah,
you.
absolutely.
I got to learn that skill. So I was watching some other kind of some podcast or somewhere. I think it was saying like if you can build and you can be a great salesperson, I think you
Mhm.
are. I don't know you. That's like the dream, right? Like if you can. So and if you're a storyteller as well, I feel like then is it the skill how hard that skill is to, and we'll go deep there maybe later, but I think you feel like you can do storytelling, you can do sales, and you can write a book also. What else you cannot do?
No, I mean it's all combined, I guess. I feel sales is a lot of storytelling. And when I say storytelling, it's about listening to what the problem is and then eventually coming up with options and ideas of how that problem can be solved. And eventually you help your customer discover the solution themselves. If you're just trying to read from some slides and just tell them a bunch of information, then it's up to them how much they can absorb, how much they can understand, and then whether they go ahead with that purchase decision or not. But instead, if you really take them through a journey, tell a proper story, help them discover what the actual problem is themselves. A lot of time the customers might say, okay, this is what we want a solution for, and it may not be the solution may not be the answer. I mean, what they're thinking, it may not be the answer to their problems. So you have to help them discover what really are you trying to solve for. And that whole journey of conversation, discovery, storytelling is what, builds a relationship for a lifetime.
So maybe the dream title for you would be the chief storyteller, right? I feel like you love storytelling, Tushar.
I mean, yeah, I don't know if I'll be the chief storyteller, but yeah, I think storytelling, I think it's a part of, it's
Yeah.
not just part of sales. I think it's part of any role because you work with so many different people. And, if even if you're doing cybersecurity, for example, in your case, or even if you're providing technical inputs, you have to be able to connect and explain from your stakeholders' perspective. And that involves storytelling.
I feel like, as you said, the cyber does need a lot of storytelling because at the end you have to connect different dots, talk to different stakeholders, and
Yes,
make them aware of the problem, the risk, and the threats you're facing. And because there's always a cost, there's always a budget and other business decision factor,
absolutely.
right? So if you can't tell your story in a way you want to tell, for whatever like why you have to protect or why you have to do certain thing on the cloud for SAP transformation, right? So you need to be a good storyteller. I definitely will look forward to reading your book, Tushar. So follow-up question on that. So who should be reading your book? Is it a CIO C-suite, or is it a technical person, or anybody? Like if I'm a customer, I'm going on transformation. You said they are confused, right? So I'm on-prem customer. So is it the right audience for, like if I'm an on-prem customer, I'm looking for cloud transformation. Is it the persona we're
Yeah.
looking?
So what I have done is this. Primarily, this book is targeted towards customers, and includes CIOs, directors, technical folks, basis administrators, everybody. So anybody who's running SAP in their environment today and using SAP as a means to run their business, this book is for them. And overall, uh, the book talks about a lot of different aspects. So there's one aspect which everybody can identify, which is taking SAP to the cloud from on-prem infrastructure to cloud-based infrastructure. But that's only part of the story. There are many customers who have done that journey. So they've gone from on-prem to cloud. But then there are other things that you can do with SAP on the cloud, which you were not able to do on-prem, that you still could do to get the most benefit. So a lot of those things are covered in a chapter on the book, which talks about innovation beyond infrastructure. So what else you could do with cloud-based technology with SAP. So if a customer was on-prem, the whole book is going to serve them. But if a customer has made that migration, maybe they've gone RISE or maybe they have taken natively to AWS or whatever, there is still value in the book for them to learn what else they could do beyond just their infrastructure modernization. And that's where I think they would find value in the book.
So I'm hearing no matter what, where you are on your transformation journey for SAP, you may still find a lot of wisdom, lot of knowledge from this book in different chapters. So if I'm a cyber guy responsible for securing SAP, maybe on AWS, you have chapter for me. If you're a basis guy, you have a chapter for them as well. And then if you're on-prem, you should be reading the entire book.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a good way to put it.
Is there anything else you want to talk about your book before we go into some other personal? I want to know more about Tushar Srivastava as he is today. But before we go there, I want to give you opportunity if you want to maybe read something or anything you want to share about your book before we segue into a different topic. Any chapter you love or
Sure.
anything you love or anything. I know book is always
Yeah.
like a, for the author. I can feel that if you ask somebody ask about my book, I will just love. So anything you want to share for our audience, Tushar?
Yeah. So let talk about a couple of things. So one is towards the end, I've put in a couple of customer case studies. So these are
Okay.
actual customers. So one is HS Inc. and the other one is Ergon. So both these customers, are SAP on AWS customers, and they were very happy to share their story. And in fact, I'm eternally grateful to them for actually sharing their story. So even though the whole book is fictional, and I mean the technical portions are true, but the story is fictional, but these customer case studies are actual customers who have gone live. So that actually is something very important for me. And what I also tried to do was I interviewed the customers. So I tried to weave in a little bit of their personal story. So for example, Mukesh Kakani, who works at CHS Inc., was part of this interview. So this is how I started this customer story. In 2016, when Mukesh Kakani joined the team at CHS as part of the technology organization, he clearly understood that the key to success for him and his team was to be able to connect the physical with the digital. And that's the whole theme. So if you see the case study, connecting the physical to the digital. CHS Inc., as you know, they work in the agriculture space. So for them, connection to the land, the physical is very important. And at the same time, connection with the digital, which is basically all the modern technology. So that was the whole theme that we saw in that conversation. And that's what I was able to capture as part of their SAP transformation also, how they are able to connect the physical with the digital. So that's one piece. And, and I'll just read something towards the end, which I just spoke about earlier. And, so short piece. For a few seconds, Thomas is the main character of the book. Thomas was at a loss for words before responding. I am glad that we have been able to make a positive contribution so far and look forward to supporting Team Nimbus on the road ahead. And thank you, Nolan, for all the support and advice during this time. The two bumped their fists and clasped a strong handshake, almost together, glancing outside the window where a Nimbus Airlines flight was taking off and was just about to reach the clouds. So that's how I've ended the book. And this is a pretty favorite part of.
I don't know how did you think about that whole thing, but yeah, I can literally see while you're saying that, I'm literally see Nimbus airline taking off and going to the clouds. So I'm while you're explaining or telling that, Tushar. I'm actually visualizing that in my with my open eyes. So I think you are
So much.
amazing, amazing author and storyteller. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
Again, if you are listening in and if you're a SAP customer, either on-prem or already on cloud in whatever form, please do get this book. And where our readers can get this book? Is it
So yeah,
Amazon?
it's available on Amazon. It's available through the Springer Nature website also. So you can
Okay.
just go online and search in Amazon using my name, or you can just search Modernizing SAP with AWS. That's the book, and say A Press. So you will find the link directly on the publisher website. So whatever is your preference, you can go there.
So if you can share those links, Tushar, we can put it for our audience as well on the podcast. I will work with you on that one. We'd love to
Absolutely.
share those links directly. So that was amazing. I think as an author, I learned few things as well, and I'm trying. I think one thing which I'm trying to work on myself itself is the storytelling part. I feel like I was more techie guy and more shy guy, and I'm working on whatever my. But I feel like everybody should have that skill, storytelling in whatever story they. Everybody have a story to
Yeah,
share. It's not like
absolutely.
you have to be like you don't have to be like me, and I have to don't have to be like you. It's just everybody have their own story, and we all should be able to tell that. And I think it does
Exactly.
help, right? And that's why the whole reason of this podcast is to bring somebody like you and other experts who have lived through those journey of whatever decade, 10 year, 20, 30 years, and then how do we use that wisdom, maybe one learning or maybe one mistake you did for the next generation who are still maybe early in their professional journey. And I feel like if you can learn one thing from, and
Sure.
if somebody can learn one thing from our one episode, one guest, I feel like all the
Sure. So yeah, I'm happy to share my perspective. One of the things that I've seen that's helped me a lot in my professional journey is the ability to connect and network with people. And believe me, I wasn't good at this early on. Typically, when you're starting your career early, the first thing you do, you have a task, you accomplish the task, and you think that's about it. You just go heads down and just work on that task. But what happens is, as you grow in a professional journey, you realize to reach an outcome, it's not just dependent on the task that you do. So there are many interconnected pieces of the task from the beginning till the end, till the actual outcome is achieved. And in order to make sure that you have your eye on the outcome, you need to work with a lot of different people. And that's where you should proactively try to network with a lot of people. And that whole thing we talk about connecting the dots. And I'll give you a specific example. A lot of customers of mine, maybe they have a role in the organization. I'm just playing the role of a basis administrator, and a lot of times they'll tell me, so what influence or role do I have? I just work on my task. I have my daily batch jobs to work on, etc. But I say, if you go up and, while having coffee, just talk to people in different departments, maybe somebody from the application team, maybe somebody from the infosec team, maybe somebody from a totally different group that's doing. Once you start talking, you will be able to figure out the work that that person is doing, the work that you are doing. Eventually, how does it drive revenue or cost savings for the company? And then you're able to establish a connection that, oh, for me, I'm a basis administrator on SAP. I help SAP run efficiently, which means all our manufacturing processes are tracked and inventories tracked. This other group, this person works on a custom application for managing orders that come online orders. And there's an integration between SAP and the system, which I didn't know. Maybe there's a third team that handles it. So the work that you are doing in your world, you're able to connect the dots how it impacts somebody else on the other side and overall how it impacts the organization. And that I feel helps you professionally, and in general networking and meeting with other people helps you grow your network even outside your organization. I've seen a lot of young professionals do this, which is, they go for meetups, they go and meet partners, they go and meet other customers, they attend networking events, and that helps them a lot to gain a broader perspective. While I've seen some of them don't do it at all, and I was, kind of similar, that I realized this much later, but as soon as I realized, I tried to make an effort to go and spend time. I think of it as an investment, not as a waste of time. Is like on a Friday evening, you attend happy hours with a group of friends from your organization, from a different organization, and all of that. And it helps build your network, and it helps you yourself grow professionally. So that's what I would give as my 2 cents.
So when did you? I know this is so much of a gold from just from the, coming from an experienced professional like you, Tushar. But so you said you were not like that, and then now you are into that. So how does that whole change or that awareness of this start? Is it like a, something you met somebody mentor, or you found your community or tribe? Like what was that eureka or
So
moment?
I mean, I don't think there was one eureka moment. It was all a natural evolution and progress. Yes, there were
Okay.
mentors in my professional journey at every stage. Sometimes I actively seeked out mentors. Sometimes, it just happens that, you interact with somebody and you become good friends with them and they kind of guide you. So there have been mentors. There have been career transitions. So I started off as a mainframe programmer. And after that, at some point in time, I moved into pre-sales. After MBA, I moved into pre-sales. And that's when I was supporting SAP. So as you go into pre-sales, sales support, and eventually I went into account management and front end sales. As you go, you realize that, you may not have all the answers. And especially when you are in pre-sales or sales, you have to answer the customer on behalf of your entire organization, not just your little function. So I had to talk to a lot of people. I had to understand, what our offering was, what our organization did, and, how when I'm answering a question, I should be confident in saying a yes or a no to my customer in terms of what all my organization can offer. So as a result, I started talking to a lot of people internally. And then, I realized that this was helping me. So I started interacting with a lot of people externally also. And when I moved to the US in 2010, as I was making new professional connections, making new friends, I made an effort to go out and meet people. And that kind of helped me, all throughout. And I try to continue that even to this day.
So what I'm hearing, you are a technical mainframe guy, move into a pre-sales role, and then you have been changing different role. But the pre-sales, maybe that was the time because as you say, you have to
Yeah.
have the answers and you have the reason of reaching out to more people because you have to figure out solve the problem for the customer versus you
Yes,
have
correct.
acceptance of saying I don't have all the answers, and because of that I need to make sure I have a connections or network or a community or tribe whom I can rely back or reach back to make sure whatever I'm saying is right. So that was probably was your why, right? That's how I'm just
Yeah.
trying to relate back to because and
Yes.
and I was saying like I read a lot of books and they always say like at one point of your life you should do a sales role. Like, if you can do sales, I think you can do anything. So if you have to give a advice to maybe a 20-year-old or 23-year-old, whatever, they're starting their first job, maybe they're hardcore technical. Is that an advice you would give to him or her as well? At least just knowing what has worked for you throughout all this. Is it the advice you would give to somebody, Tushar?
Yeah, so the advice I would give is again, whether you're actually doing sales as a professional job or not, whatever you're doing, you are doing sales. Whether it's in your personal relationships, whether it's in your professional relationships, whether it's even if you're doing a developer's job, when you're going and talking to somebody and explaining what you did or trying to understand what their problem is or trying to solve a problem, you are in sales. And it starts with listening. It starts with listening attentively. A lot of us, not just in professional settings, but in general, family settings, relationship settings, we are eager to talk. We're just waiting for the other person to stop talking, and then immediately we want to respond without connecting what that person said. And then, you just responded with whatever you thought was right. If you're not doing that, if you can retrain yourself to listen attentively and keep asking the person more and more to, probe, and then once they have said what they want to say, you can think a little bit and you can respond. You can create an answer that's relevant to what they have asked. You're actually doing sales. What you're doing is you're repeating back to them, hey, this is what I heard. This is what I understood from you, and this is how I can help you. Or these are the options that are in front of you. Now, it may not be an option that they want to accept. That's up to them. But these are, your options. Like, for example, let's say you're a developer and then, you're sitting in a business meeting with there's somebody head of marketing or somebody, and you are supposed to, your team's supposed to build a solution or an application for them. And then, they're talking about, oh, we need this by 2 weeks or whatever. This solution should be up and running because we are coming up against a deadline where holiday season will start and we need to make sure our systems are ready or whatever. And let's say as a development team, it cannot be done. So if you immediately responded, no, it cannot be done, you're leading to conflict. Instead, you say, okay, you hear everything and then you repeat, okay, so you said, holiday season is starting at this time. When exactly do we need to start the sales? When exactly our systems need to be ready? When you start asking those questions, and then you say, yes, we can have the systems ready, but then it would lead to these errors on the system. Are you okay to accept those errors? Or if you want a very high quality system, then we'll have to delay the launch by a week. So what you're doing is you're putting control back in that stakeholder's hand. And that's a sales process that, you know, basically there are trade-offs of doing. If you want to go fast, great. If you want it good quality, great. Then you have to pay extra for it. If you're not willing to pay extra, then maybe the quality would be compromised. If you want good quality, you don't want to pay much, maybe it'll take you more time. So you're able to articulate that in a nice way so that the person who's asking you for something understands the constraints themselves. And then you build a relationship and then eventually you find a solution to the problem also that is acceptable to all parties. I think that's essentially what sales is, whether you're trying to position softwares that can solve problems or whether you're trying to position your services that can help solve problems.
I'm so glad we are doing this podcast, Tushar. And I think until today, I have more cyber folks on my show. But I think when I learned about the book, and I know we always share passion, we always talk about things. I'm so glad you accepted to come on the show. And the thing you talk about it, listening, I think, and the thing is talk about the whole personal thing. I was just trying to relate back to even the podcast thing also. The listening is so critical, and I think we don't do a good job listening. And we always, as you say, we always eager to do
Yeah.
the uh, something even I'm working on my skill too. Uh, but in for cyber, I think the things you're sharing about the sales part, right? Like because for us also it happens, right? Uh, we're always seen as like we are blocker. We
Yeah.
always say no, right? So instead of saying direct no, first listen to the requirement. First listen to the whatever they're trying to implement, right? Somebody's trying to implement new solution, right? If you just keep saying no, this cannot be done, right, or this is not allowed as per whatever policy, that is not right way, because then you what you're doing kind of creating like barrier where from next time they're not even going to come to you. They will find different ways to do things, maybe bypass security. So the more you listen, you create like a more like a team, a trusted advisor, right? And I think I had a one of my guests who was like a who's an ethical hacker now, but he was also a developer. So he shared an interesting story, Tushar.
Mhm.
So he was saying like he was again this goes back to a long time. So because the basis was taking too much time to just do a simple transport, he
Mhm.
wrote a program to bypass the whole transport process. So he had a Torsion or whatever written, and he once it is in production, whatever update they wanted to do, it was just say some click of a button or something in SAP itself. And I asked him this question, right? Like what? Because as a management, as a cyber security professional, like we need to, because we always human is the weakest link, and human is the like even the insider threat and everything else, right? So if you're always like that team, and like they know if we're gonna ask cyber guy or this guy, they're gonna not allow it. So they, and this especially the smarter people, the developer who are amazing, the basis guy who knows everything, the AWS, the cloud guy, right? They would find different ways, right? There's always a different way, like they may. So I think that's where like be a good listener even for cyber. It's so key for the cyber security, SAP cyber
Absolutely.
security. uh,
Yeah. And I would also add, you brought a very good example about cybersecurity and, people who are usually seen as gatekeepers or, regulation people or whatever, in that role also, or for that matter, any role, beyond just your individual goals and targets, if you have a broader vision, what is the organization trying to do? What is the team trying to do? Then you'll be able to put your role in context. So that's the whole cyber security example that you gave. So let's say somebody comes to you with a request that we want to implement this, and then you are supposed to evaluate the risk and you say no or whatever. If you take a pause and understand, okay, whatever they're trying to implement, why are they trying to do it? Eventually, they're trying to implement a new solution. Okay, what will that solution do? That solution will help increase sales by creating a parallel e-commerce platform. Let's say that is what. So overall, once you start looking at that way, even as a cybersecurity professional, you see, okay, the goal is to increase sales for my company. That is what. So if I say no without evaluation, I'm just trying to kill revenue for the company. Instead, the goal is okay, we have to do this. We have to build this e-commerce platform so that a company can make more money or serve its mission or whatever that is. And my role is to minimize the risk, balance the trade-off. So if you reframe your role as that way, then all of a sudden, you're not a foe, you're not an enemy, you're a partner in trying to make whatever you're making more robust. So the people who are coming to you with a request, in their mind, they might be thinking, hey, here I'm trying to grow the company sales, we are trying to meet a deadline, and this team's coming and saying no. Instead, if you reframe, my goal is also to create that channel and create that thing and all that. You are at the front end creating the website or the application. I'm at the back end trying to manage the risk. So together we have to work together and meet the company goal rather than you just focus on your narrow goal. My goal is to minimize risk. Minimize risk, then don't do anything. If you don't, it's like this. I don't want to get sick. So the easiest thing is you just sit in your house, don't talk to anybody, don't meet anyone, and you'll never get sick. But that's not the goal. Your goal is also to have a fulfilling life. Want to go and meet friends. You want to do sports. You want to do other things. So you do all that. And then you have to figure out what are the safety methods or precautions, things that you have to do so that while you can play, you don't get hurt. While you meet people, you don't catch infectious disease. Let's say you have a compromised immune system. So you have to be extra precautious when you're meeting with people. The solution is not simply to sit at home. And I think that's the same thing for people in the cybersecurity space who have to, make sure that the organization is able to meet the goals. At the same time, you're able to manage risk.
Love it, love it. So I was thinking maybe we should have some kind of a training where we can invite you, at least for my tribe, my community, right? No, this is it's true. I think Tushar, what you're saying, right? Like we don't think from that whole business, like why somebody, whatever they're trying to do, either it's a new application, new program, new custom, whatever deployment, like what is the business reasoning behind it versus just saying, okay, you just want to spin up something and it doesn't follow the security policies and guidelines, and no, it's
Exactly.
cannot side of the world where they say everything to no, or maybe they're on the side where they just allow everything. Then we probably have to find a middle ground, like listen to them, understand the business
Yeah.
requirement, and then still provide the solution which is as per your policy. And as you said, I think earlier, right, like repeat whatever they're saying and then maybe say, if you do this, maybe this would add this issue. Are you willing to accept the risk? Because we are the cybersecurity professionals, we don't own the risk. This is the business owners, they own the risk, they own the system, they own the business, right? So it's a business risk which we are trying to mitigate with cybersecurity. We are not into
Exactly.
cybersecurity of security business, because we are the business has to do their thing, whatever they have to do. They have to sell or they have to build whatever they are doing. uh,
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I was just about to say, the example I used about, if you're a sick person or if you're trying to manage risk and staying home versus going out. So that's basically storytelling. So, I try to explain the same thing, for your audience who might be primarily in the area of cyberspace, cybersecurity. So I've just tried to use that analogy. And that's what I used in my book also, by means of
Okay.
storytelling.
Unless that COVID time, you don't go out, but yeah, you have to go out. You have to do your thing, right? That was a different
Exactly.
time, but I
Yeah.
totally. So I know, just in interest of time, and Tushar, I've been asking all my guests, like I think one hour, one episode is not enough. So hopefully, I'm getting promises from everybody, like you will come back, and I assume you would also be willing to come back. We probably would do some
Happy
other
to do
deep
that.
dive. I do
Yeah.
feel like when I said we should have like a somebody like you coming up and giving these similar thoughts to the SAP or the cybersecurity audience, even the kids, even I feel like I don't have all the skills, and because the more we talk, I learn from you. Maybe we share things. So we become more stronger, right? So I don't know if
Yeah.
you're willing. I would love to have find
I'd
some
be
way
happy
like
to
we'll.
come. Yeah.
Okay.
No.
So I will take it to share. One more thing I wanted to deep dive. We kind of covered some part of your personal story. You shared some of the journey. Um, so you have been in industry for 20 plus years, I believe, or
Yeah,
more, I believe, right?
yeah, that's true.
So if you have to, again, the 22-year, 23-year kid who are in college or trying to graduate or undergrad or whatever it is, in either for the cyber or just say any field they're trying to get in. And we talk
Hmm.
about networking. You said networking is key. You have to go out and network and find mentorship. You mentioned that as well. And then you said, what are other, I would say, like maybe, do you read a lot of books, Tushar? Like, I don't know, if you just have to say, okay, this is how I became the Tushar, I am Tushar today. You were not like that when you were like 20, 23-year old, right?
Yeah.
You shared some bits, but before I let you go for today, do you have something more like 5 things or something like that to share, Tushar, for the younger
Yeah,
version
no,
of
I
our,
like
or,
to read books. I definitely, in fact, I've written in the acknowledgement section of my book also that
okay?
this habit of reading or this interest in reading that was instilled by my parents, right from a very young age. So I used to read all kinds of books. I still love reading a lot of books. Um, I like to travel a lot. So, you meet people of different cultures, people of different food habits, different behaviors than yourself. So you learn a lot from that. And I think what it does is it gives you adaptability. It gives you that confidence that we use this term a lot, figure out. You don't have answers to everything, but if you're given a new situation, you will figure it out. You will know
Mm.
what needs to be done. I think reading books, traveling, meeting people, going out of your comfort zone, learning a new skill, all this kind of makes you a complete person and also helps you explore the limits of your capabilities. Like I can see a guitar in the
Yeah.
background room. I'm assuming you play. I play the guitar and I just picked it up, out of interest. And now, it's a good therapeutic exercise for me. So it really forced me to go out of my comfort zone because learning a guitar is very different from learning piano, where the you don't need as much muscle memory in piano because you just play the key, but with guitar you have to understand how to hold it, the strings and all of that. So it forces you to go out of your comfort zone. So anytime you do something new, whether meeting people, whether trying different foods, or traveling, reading a book, something that you have never done earlier, it grows you as a person. And I think all of us should do that. And I think the world needs more of that, where we are comfortable talking to people who don't look like us, who don't talk like us. And frankly, we are able to create a common connection with people all around us. I think that goes not just for you for professionally, but also I think that's the need of the hour in our world today.
Love it, Tushar. Love it. I think I again appreciate. I have known you for at least few years. I think whenever we talked, I just love the passion and the understanding you bring and the thing we just shared. Right. You said reading books. You said traveling a lot. You said foods. You said meeting different people from different background, knowing and doing something which you're not comfortable with. You haven't done something like trying something new, right? Guitar, yeah, I have been trying to learn, and I try to learn other things too. I'm not good at it, but probably I will take some classes from you, Tushar.
Oh, sure.
Uh, but this is amazing. I think this is one of the reason, and this podcast for me also. I think this is something I don't think I was a speaker as a. I think I was a good at it as a kid, but in somewhere in
Mhm.
middle, I don't know. You become things. You become a shy or whatever. But I learned like in a hard way. Like you have to just start doing it, and you will learn in the process. You cannot be perfect. You cannot just be okay. Nobody is born with all the skills you want to have, right? So you just have to go ahead and try it. So Tushar,
Absolutely.
thank you again. Anybody, if they wanna reach out to you, maybe learn more about your book, learn more about what you do, maybe
Yeah.
whatever work on your Amazon and transformation and the great work you have been doing, how do they reach out? Is it LinkedIn?
Uh, yeah, they can reach me on LinkedIn.
Okay, so we'll share your LinkedIn profile in our
Yeah,
podcast.
perfect.
Uh, any last minute thing you want to share before I say goodbye for now, with the promise of you to come back again?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, Gaurav, more strength to you. It's a big effort to start an initiative like this. I wish all the best to CyberKriya so that you keep doing more and more podcasts, share the knowledge with your audience. I wish that your audience keeps growing and let's continue doing good work for your audience and the broader community. So best wishes to you and uh, everybody who's associated with CyberKriya.
No, you are part of it as well, Tushar. So thank you for coming on. All the best for your book. I think it's already doing great, and I will wait for my copy. If I would love to have a signed copy from the
Sure.
author Tushar Srivastava, and hopefully, I will see you in some of the conferences if you can.
Absolutely. Yeah. I would suggest buy a copy, and when we meet, I'll sign it.
Thank you. I will look forward to welcoming you again on the show.
Thank you so much, Gaurav.